Gross or Juror 11 had brought in with him on that day in that jury deliberation room.
So what you're saying, if let's say I'm Juror 11, hypothetically, and I say every Hispanic male I've ever run into has been a criminal. They've done this, that, and the other. And it's been my personal experience, and I've worked with these people, and I go on and on and on, so forth and so on, that as long as I qualify it as in my experience, that I can express any kind of racial animosity against the defendant as long as I say it's in my personal experience.
Your Honor, I can see how that would be considered morally reprehensible. It grosses me out just hearing it, honestly.
Well, if it grosses you out,
yeah.
then let's just assume for the rest of this argument that they were racially motivated statements. So now, why should we not do something about that?
So the petitioners rely on the affidavits of 2 jurors who ultimately voted in favor of 3 misdemeanor charges. Now, if they were to have approached the defense counsel after the verdict had been reached, then they must have done so because they were motivated by the idea that other jurors were probably
Well,
acting on
doesn't
that
your
racial bias.
argument really highlight the problem here? That there's no device by which we can actually ascertain whether or not there was an influence. Not that the statements were made, let's assume that, but what was the effect on the jury? And was that effect so great that the defendant didn't get a fair trial? So how are we supposed to be able to get at that evidence if we can't because the rule is in the way?
Well, I feel like you can look at the 2 jurors who did approach the defense counsel after the verdicts had been reached, and you can think about how they did rule in favor of the 3 misdemeanor charges. Miguel Antonio Rodriguez being charged with those 3 misdemeanor charges, and you can sort of think through why they
But
still
isn't
voted.
that asking us to guess? I'm asking you how, not in this case, but in cases coming down the pipe, how are we supposed to be able to get at the evidence that shows us that the defendant didn't get a fair trial? Because that's what's at issue here, the constitutional issue.
Well,
What do you propose as relief?
well, I think you could say that, at least in this case, there wasn't necessarily a clear understanding. The jurors didn't have a clear understanding of what the Tanner safeguards were, and
Are they supposed to know that? They're jurors, they're not lawyers, they're not judges.
I feel like because the defendant, Miguel Antonio Rodriguez, was a minority, and because the judge had told defense counsel throughout the course of the trial court process that he was more likely to receive some sort of racial bias against him, that defense should have taken that into consideration at voir dire. And yeah. Can you repeat your question? Because I don't think I fully addressed it actually.
I'm saying let's look forward past this case. By what device can we get at the evidence, the information that tells us in some way that this jury was improperly influenced by the comments that were made in the jury room if currently the